so apologise for the delay, but without any further ado, our star guest, Jacqueline Pierce. Jacqueline, I'm glad you came here.
Thank you.
I understand you just finished doing a play in Coventry.
Now, this is my microphone.
So I would like to bring up the other
Yes, let's do it. House of Play was a wonderful play called Shadowlands, about the writer C.S. Lewis, who I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. He wrote the Narnia books, which I'd never read. And so it's a great discovery to read those books, which are absolutely wonderful, and to do what my character did, which is fall in love with him through his writing. I don't know if you know the play, but it seems to be almost actor-proof, you know, you really can't ruin it. And so I finished that a week ago. Thank you very much, darling. And it was a hugely intense experience, which is the way I love working anyway. But you notice, like, when you're with a group of people and you get very, very close, and then suddenly it's all over and you've moved on again and got on, you know, with another aspect of your life. And it was very emotional for both the actors and the audience. I'm really getting over that, actually. But to answer your question, yes, it was lovely, and I'm very glad I did it.
Obviously, Blake Servan is what you're...
Yes. Remember fall.
And you've gone on to play other roles. You've appeared in Dark Season, Moondale, and other genre pieces. Has it been easy at all to break away from Servan's character?
No, not until Shadowlands, really. I did a convention last week and someone was talking to me about Dark Season and the fact that it was Servalan Mark IV, which it was really. I mean, that's really all I seem to get offered on the telly. If they want, you know, somebody out of sight in space, then they ring me up. But the writing is often very limited. You know, the ideas are there, but the writing doesn't take it as far as it could go, and I find it very frustrating. So it was wonderful, and I shall keep coming back to Shadowlands because it was so fine and special. But it actually gave me an opportunity to do the kind of work that I know I can do, but very few people have got the foresight to employ me for. So, do you see what I mean? It hasn't been easy to get away from that. And perhaps I never will.
Perhaps, is that then the case that was Servalan career-wise a good thing for you or a bad thing for you? It gave you media attention, but you found it hard to break away.
There are so many factors involved in a career and in a life, and I don't know if any of you have seen me at conventions before or have been to other conventions, but I tend not to treat them like the other guests, and I've always spoken very honestly about my life, because I personally, if I met someone whose work I had liked, I would be interested in them, the person. So I can only speak, you know, that's what interests me, so I just hope that it might interest other people. There were many factors involved when I was playing Servalan, and perhaps if I'd been a different person and handled it better, it would have been a very good career move. But I've never been any good at that, and what has really always interested me is just the work itself. While I was doing that, in that particular period of my life when I was doing Blake 7, I was also going through, and had been for some years, a Jungian analysis. So playing Servalan, who was really an archetype, and doing a lot of work psychologically in that area as well, was a very I was having a very interesting inner journey as well as what was going on in my outer life, and to play that part at that time was quite a dangerous thing for me to have done as a human being, if you see what I mean. It was very easy to get lost in that world that Terry Nation had created. So all sorts of things were going on that made me less than perhaps the businesswoman I could have been. But the work has always been the thing that's motivated me.
We just finished watching the episode Sand.
Yes.
Is it true that Sam was written especially for you?
Yes, it was. Tanith Lee, I think, is a wonderful writer and a fascinating woman. And she wrote another episode, which I can't remember, which I wasn't in, which was also wonderful. And then she wrote that episode, became very good friends. And I told her I'd been gone to work one day and I'd had a wonderful weekend. And Stephen Pacey, who I adore, came up to me and said, "Darling, you're looking very chirpy. What's thrilling you today?" And I said, "Well, I'm feeling really great, Stevie, because I moved over the weekend." And he said, "Where did you move to?" I said, "I moved to a houseboat. I'm living in a houseboat on Cheney Walk." And all the colour drained out of his face. And he said, "I live in a houseboat on Cheney Walk." So I said, "Stevie, I'm the girl next door." He said, "If you're the girl next door to me, I'll move." And I was, and he did. And I told Tanny that you read it into the script. So that scene was played with a great deal of relish.
I think Servalan, Lucy was right, was a very unique character.
Yes, she was.
You could ignore. The costume is another thing that people have said. You tend to get a lot of science fiction females in the stereotype, the 5 boots, the Spaniard. Your costumes were much more...
Well, you see, when I got there, I got the short hair anyway. And the producer said to me, he said, "Right," he said, "you're playing the Supreme Commander, so we'll put you in jack boots, safari suits, and a helmet." So I said, "Well, if you do that with this haircut, you might as well cast a man." So it seemed to me that the best thing to do was go completely in the opposite direction and make her incredibly feminine, whilst behaving like a man, which I also thought dramatically would give it some sense of danger. And I think that's what made her interesting. She looked one way, but you never really knew how she was going to behave. And that's what made her interesting to play.
I think it was a case of power dressing before power dressing really became a...
Well, she was totally outrageous, I mean. But great fun.
I've got a question really here. I love this one. Do you think Servalan was actually a good role model for aspiring career women?
Well, I think she was a role model for quite a few women. She became quite big in women's groups. I've always been, surprised at just how big an impact she did have. There were a lot of things I admired about her, which I cannot find in myself when I'm not playing her. And so many times in my life I've been in situations, and I said, "Servalan, teleport." I knew there'd be situations that she could handle brilliantly, but I, Jacqueline Pierce, can't. So I don't know what the answer to that one is.
From the audience, how do you feel? Any questions about power and Servalan or Jacqueline Pierce or Jack Boots? Somebody down there.
Did you enjoy making the 2 Doctors with Patrick Troughton and Fraser Hines?
One of the best times of my life. I mean, I'd never even seen Doctor Who. Isn't that dreadful? And I was asked to do it because I'd met JNT, John Nathan Turner, in the bar, and he liked my laugh, and he said, "One day I'm going to have that girl in the show." So I went for 3 and adored them all. They were just wonderfully kind to me, and I was so lucky to have met Pat Troughton, who was such a lovely man. And my wig got lost, which is one of the best things that's ever happened to me in my entire life, because it was the most awful wig in the entire world. I looked like Widow Twanky in drag. And I mean, really, think about it. It had been made for another actress who had had to drop out. I think she'd read the script and seen the light. And so they asked me to take over at the last minute. So I got this dreadful hat with dreadful costume and dreadful wig, I can't tell you. And it got lost en route. I've never been so happy in my life. So they had to literally send me to a barber in Seville. Where I got another wig, which wasn't too bad. But Fraser Hines is one of the funniest people I'd ever met in my life. I mean, there are very few people who can make me laugh first thing in the morning. Very few. And I'd only have to look at Fraser in makeup and I'd just be off. And I remember we were doing one scene, and I was rehearsing. Who was the actor who played my consort? Who turned me into an Antrican? What was his name? What was his name as a real person? No, not John Stratton. Lawrence. Thank you. I had a scene with Lawrence Payne, and I was having to say, "I want you to make me a consort." And Fraser Hines was standing behind us, he's in the middle of the scene. So I said, full of meaning and depth, I said, I want you to make me a consort. And I heard Fraser say, I don't think we've got enough milk. And I laughed a great deal. It was wonderful, it was great fun.
If you find, you say Fraser was funny, I know going way back in your career, your film career, you once played a role with Jerry Lewis.
Yeah. Not funny. It was very interesting. It was my first experience, you know, of Hollywood and the big time, all that with the entourages and everything. And it was a very interesting experience, the little I remember about it. But I found him, he was a very clever man in rehearsals and then seemed to lose it once the camera started turning. But it was a good experience at the time, but certainly not one of my favourite.
If you found it hard time, did it kind of like poison your image of Hollywood? Or was it still every actor or actress dream to...
Well, Hollywood is about the movies. And I suppose, like all actors, I have a romantic dream of it, and I have my own particular era that I love. And I'd like to have been there in the 30s and the 40s. I don't think it would interest me as much today, although they do have wonderful screen actors, and because it is Hollywood, I would love to make a film in Hollywood. It may turn out to be a huge disappointment, but, you know, I wouldn't mind the experience. But really, I just want to do good work with good people.
Yeah, the audience, you should bombard us. No, right, back to my boring voice. Next question, okay. The last episode of Blake 7, Blake.
Yes.
How do you feel about not actually being in the episode?
Well, again, I mean, at the time, we were going through a few hiccups, really, and for me, the happiest season was Series 3. I was extremely happy. I loved what I was doing. I had good scripts, and everybody worked together well. And then the BBC had this policy, when they got it all running smoothly, that they changed the whole crew and the whole unit, you see. So you just got used to your makeup artist, you just got used to your designer, and you're working together, and you've got that shorthand that goes with working together, you know. And they changed everything around. And I used to complain about this bitterly at a great length, and so I wasn't terribly popular. And I felt for all the wrong reasons. I felt that I had, you know, very good points there, because it got in the way of the work. And I got a reputation for being difficult, which I'm not actually. And so I took it very personally when I wasn't in the last episode. And I think it was personal. And, you know, now we're light years away from it, I suppose, you know, it was a bit petty, and it was a pity all those egos got involved, but I didn't mind.
Quite bad, right. All these things that go wrong. Honest. Where am I? I'm right in front of my, I can't see my script. Working with other actors, is it hard to do the same role with somebody else, or a different character, played by two people?
Travis.
Travis.
Yes, I always felt that was a very unfair thing to do, because Stephen isn't Brian and Brian isn't Stephen, and they're two different people, and they shouldn't have been asked to play the same character, because they have different qualities as actors. And Stephen Greif, I think, is a natural heavy, and Brian isn't. He's a much more lightweight actor, and there are other things he does much better. And I think Brian would be the first to say that. So I thought it was unfair to try and make him be the same character rather than allow him to create something different, which would have been him, and he could have done much better. So,
compared to the character, though, which do you think was a better...
Travis.
Stephen. Right. Perhaps going back again to other things. Dark Season. We've shown Dark Season here already, all 6 parts. And the character you played in that one, you say, Server Landmark 4. Was it fun to play?
Well, what had I done with that director before? Moondial. And had a wonderful time. Really loved that, all that dressing up in the 18th century. That's much more my sort of period than science fiction. I love all that romantic stuff. So when the same director asked me to do Dark Season, I knew I'd have a wonderful time because he's great fun. But that wasn't really my genre. That's very kind, thank you. So, you know, I did what I could with it, which wasn't a great deal, I don't think. I enjoyed it for the experience, but it was frustrating because it wasn't really the sort of work I wanted to be doing.
How much input have you had on the creation of your characters? Or have you been tied down to, we want you to do another Servalan?
Well, you work very differently in television than you do in theatre. It's a completely different process. And when I did Shadowlands, apart from a tour of Private Lives 6 years ago, I hadn't really done theatre for 12 years. So I'm just rediscovering really why I went into the business in the first place, and the huge difference between theatre acting, where you've got an amazingly wonderful script, and television, where it's done very quickly on a limited amount of money, without a great deal of care being put into it. And now they seem to employ you by commuter. You know, they've got you on a computer and that's what you do, and you go in and you do it. And there's no time for discussion or building a character or any of those things, which are the reasons why actors want to do acting in the first place. So ultimately I find television very frustrating and don't want to do a lot more. I love filming because I like being with one cameraman and one crew throughout a period of time living on location. The same thing as theatre, going away and being with a company for 6 weeks, and you live with those people and you build something and you create something. And that's really what it, for me, and I think any actor worth his salt, it's all about. What was the question?
I've forgotten that.
What was the question?
Oh, was that one off the top of your head and not of your...
That was at the top, that was made off. I was really that one.
I do tend to get sidetracked.
I gather acting wasn't your original choice of career.
No, in my soul, I am a dancer. And that is still my great love. Because the world of ballet I find totally satisfying. You know, going somewhere like Covent Garden and seeing, as I've been fortunate enough to see, at his height, Rudolf Nureyev. And the combination of the music and the stories and the costumes and the theatre itself and the wonderful red velvet curtains and all that, I just find total magic. I find it a wonderfully satisfying experience. And as I say, if you've seen great dancers like Fontaine and Nureyev together, I mean, you know, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. And I think there are very few chances in the theatre, other than opera, where you can do something that big. And I find that frustrating.
Do you wish you had an opportunity, perhaps, with one of your characters to dance across the sands of an alien planet as Servalan, the dancing president? or was that...
I think that might have been going a bit far. I danced in my imagination.
With Servalan, your opposite person to perform to, Aiden, the
Yes.
love-hate relationship.
Yes.
How much of that was created with yourself and Paul Dow, and how much was purely there on page?
I think initially it was created very much by Paul and myself. You know, you bring the actors together, and depending on the chemistry, then you've got a show. And Paul and I did have very good chemistry. And I felt if that had been developed more, it could have made for a much more interesting show. Because again, I think what interests people is what's going on between people, you know, having relationships, rather than someone standing by a console saying, standard by 10, which I find very boring. I felt that it made it much more real, too. You know, two people are behaving, relating to each other as a man and a woman. And it gave it a sense of danger.
If it was taken to its logical conclusion, who would have won in the battle of sexes between them? Servalan?
Well, I don't think there's any contest, darling. Please.
Is there any truth in the rumour that you may be appearing in young Indiana Jones?
I hope so, because I've done it.
Oh, right.
No, it's not young, it's the series. It's a series that I think of about 8 that the Americans have done very well. called The Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, and it's about Indiana Jones before he became Harrison Ford. And so it's a young American actor, Sean, I forget his last name, but he was absolutely delicious. And my episode was directed by a wonderful film director called Nicholas Roeg. So it was really classy stuff. Oh, I had the most amazing time doing it because I thought, it was last December. And I was in a very fraught period in my life because I live in Cornwall. And my father was very ill, and my stepmother was in hospital, so I've been looking after my father down in Cornwall, who'd suddenly got galloping Alzheimer's. And was trying to take care of my foster mother as well. I got my relatives in hospitals all over the country, and suddenly I'm offered this job in Prague, you know, leaving in 20 minutes. So I had to get my father into a hospital, and then I packed my life, I kid you not, in my suitcase. I thought, this is an important job. Nicholas Roeg is a director I admire very much, you know, and want to impress totally. I kid, you know, I mean, I'll admit it. Packed my life in the suitcase. Got onto the train at Penzance. Got to Paddington, where I was being met by a car to take me to the airport to put me on the plane. And I go to get my suitcase, and it's not there. Someone had taken my suitcase. So I didn't know what to do. So I got the car to take me to Marks and Sparks, where I bought a rather smart dressing gown and 2 pairs of knickers. And I arrived in Prague in a dressing gown, wearing one pair of knickers and carrying the other. And I spent 2 weeks in this dressing gown. It made life so simple. There was no what shall I wear to dinner tonight, because there was no choice, it was a dressing gown. And I had one of the best times of my life, so, you know, it just goes to show. It was Nicholas Roeg too, who on this shoot of Indiana Jones, he said to me, "What makes God laugh?" I said, "I don't know what does make God laugh." And he said, "People who make plans." I thought, well, he's having a good laugh at me lately then.
I suppose then, if I could play off your people make plans, what are your sort of plans for the future? Do you wish to stay front of camera, front of stage? Or would you be interested in the producing or directing?
No, I have no interest actually in producing or directing. I love acting, and what I love best in the world is to work with good directors who can tell me what to do, so that I don't have to make any decisions at all, but there's just someone who knows what they're talking about, putting me in the direction that I want to go in. For quite some years now, I've concentrated mainly on film and television, because that's the way it's gone. And now, having got back into the theatre, I really just want to do much, much more of that, because there's something about working with a live audience that is different. And if working on something like Shadowlands that was so fine and so special, I can't tell you, and the audience being that other element, and knowing that the audience were affected by it, and being able to move an audience and make them laugh and make them cry, and be part of that common bond of humanity that we all share, is very, very important to me. And it rekindled in me, and it made me remember why I'd actually entered the profession in the first place. And as Nina said in The Seagull, you know, it's not about fame or glory or any of those things I used to dream of. It's about having bearing one's cross and having faith. And, I mean, that sort of sounds a bit very Russian, but I know what she meant. And really all I want to do is good work with good people. I just want to be as creative as I can be with the gifts that I have, and share them with as many people as do me the privilege of coming to see me.
You ever wanted to try your hand with a different style, comedy or...?
I love a comedy, and I have had in my mind for some time. I just love to get up one day and stand there and do it. And I know that there is a way for me to find that, but I haven't found it yet. And I don't know if it'll be as a one-woman show. I'm not sure. I mean, the wonderful thing about that is that then it's only me, and I can't bitch about anybody else not getting it right. Do you know what I mean? And I stand or fall by myself. On the other hand, there's nothing better than being up there with a bunch of actors that can do it, and you pass them the ball and they pass it back and you score a goal together. And that's really exciting. And some of the actors I was working with in Shadowlands, wonderful actor called David McHale, one of the finest character actors in the world. And you know, a lot of actors that one doesn't see enough of. they were just very exciting to be with and work with, and that's really all I want to do. And as far as having plans is concerned, the thing about me is I love surprises. I love not knowing what's around the next corner. And I know they say that if you think about it, you can plan and bring into your life what you're going to do next. And I've got friends who are very good at it. But I love being surprised all the time.
What makes you laugh?
What makes me
What
laugh?
makes you laugh?
Oh God, what makes me laugh? An awful lot of things I could possibly mention here. I don't know, I really don't know how to answer that. A lot of things make me laugh. I laugh a great deal.
I was wondering, you were saying you have felt you wanted to do a one-woman comedy show. I wondered, where would your thrust be? Would it be political? Would it be Battle of the Sexes?
I think it would, no, it wouldn't be political. I'm not political at all. And I think it's a mistake. I personally think it's a mistake to continue the battle of the sexes as I've seen it being fought over the last few years, ever since women's liberation started. Because it seems to me an awful lot of damage has been done, and it seems to have made a rift between men and women. Instead of uniting them, it's created a division. But I suppose perhaps with every revolution you go too far in one direction and then you pull back and hopefully get in the middle and get it right. But I like men as friends. I mean, I like them very much for other reasons as well. But I do like men as friends, and I have a lot of men friends. And when I was younger, I was a tomboy, and I think, I thought 5 minutes, are we right? And I also like women too, and I like people, and I think it's a mistake to create this division between the sexes. I think they must try and heal it and understand it, and try getting along with each other, which would probably yield more interesting results eventually.
Time's moving on, so we've got time for a few more questions. Is there anybody in the audience? Behind you. Yeah.
Would you ever consider doing a musical?
I would adore to be a musical. I mean, the slight handicap is I can't sing or dance, but what the hell. John Nathan Turner actually got me in a pantomime. He said to me, "Darling, would you like to be in this pantomime we're doing Cinderella?" I said, well, I can't sing or I can't dance. He said, "It's not a problem, John. You won't have to do either." And on video, he's got me singing "Tap Your Troubles Away." I don't know how he's managed to do it. But I'd love to do a musical. Colin Baker said to me, he said, "You can't sing, darling, but you can put a song over," which apparently is all right.
Same gentleman mentioned earlier on, the two doctors. What was it like working with Colin Baker?
Oh, one of my favourite people in the entire world ever.
He described you as totally mad. Wonderful to work with.
I just adore him. He's a really good human being, and I admire him enormously as a man as well as an actor.
Any more questions? If not, Servalan's character being so strong and yet feminine, are you recognised in the street, and if so, does that affect how men react to you in the street?
I guess I am recognised for, and I think it depends on the individual. I get some very interesting fan mail, or Servalan does, you can imagine. Extraordinary things people write. So really, it depends on the person, on their attitude to her, and they vary from man to man.
Generally, is she a threatening character, do you feel, to men, or is she a stimulating character?
Well, I'll tell you what an actor said about me last week. And he was actually talking about my Servalan side, I think. And he said, "Most men have 2, but you have 4. And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "Balls." And I think that was the thing. I chose to take that as a huge compliment. But I think that's what Servalan had, and I think it was in large part to do with her femininity. It was the combination of the two. And I think any man, equally, any man who is very male, but equally sensitive, is, as far as I'm concerned, a knockout.
What was your best memories of as being an actress, and your worst?
My best and my worst. Colin and I were asked a similar question to that at a convention we did together last week, and he said really what I feel, that the worst you tend to block out. Who wants to hang on to that? And I always only seem to remember the best. And at the moment, the best, actually, what I said to my director when I started Shadowlands, before we started rehearsals, I said, I make a prediction that for the rest of my life, no matter what I've done or what I will do, this show is going to be extraordinarily special. And I think it will be for everyone involved. And it was. From everyone who worked on the show, you know, from my dresser to the lady who made the tea, to the carpenters, to the producer, to the actors, the commitment was 100%. And it was a play about love, written with love, and played with love, which does confirm what I have believed for many a year, that love is the ultimate power. So anything I can be involved with that has that element to it, you know, I'm there. I'm very lucky to have had that.
Okay. Any more questions out there, or shall I finish with the last one? Okay.
Well, I've had a lovely time. I hope you have. Thank you very much.
The last one wasn't actually one more, actually. It's the only one I didn't ask.
Yes.
Well, it says here, during the third and fourth seasons of Lake 7, do you feel that they tried to mellow the character of Servalan more than they should have?
They tried to write her out. They kept her in. They did, really. They tried to write her out, and they had me in as little as they could get away with. And they called me Sleer. I mean, really. So, no, they didn't, they weren't very good to me in the last series of Blake 7. And I mean, I'm not saying anything out of school, because I've told them all, from the producer down, often.
If Blake 7 came back, would you return to the role?
It depends very much who was doing it, what they were asking me to do, what sort of scripts they were. If it was a production of integrity, I'd be there like a shot.
Okay. Well, last chance for today. Back again.
If you were offered a part for Star Trek Next Generation, and if the script and the role was good enough, would you accept it?
You better believe it. Yeah, I just want to have a good time, you know what I mean? Yeah, I would. Anything that's good.
No more questions? You're stunned out there, aren't you? While you're all asleep from last night's curry.
You don't question Servalan.
Is there anything you lot want to go on Rockwell about to say? Is that why you're hiding behind the pillar? I promise you that broke the lift when I got stuck in it.
I wasn't more tomorrow.
Hey?
I'm sure they can think of some more.
Yes, we'll give you tonight to think some more questions, and hopefully we'll have you on the panel again tomorrow.
Indeed you will.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.